The New Balance Rebel V5 versus the Adidas Evo SL, two of the best non-plated performance trainers of 2025, but you're definitely going to prefer one over the other. I have to say that both of these shoes, the New Balance Rebel V5 and the Adidas Evo SL, are very exciting shoes to me because after the past, I would say 2 to 3 years of overly designed, over-engineered, overly complicated, and overly technology shoes, the super trainers, all of those plated daily trainers that the industry has been trying to tell you are good shoes, it's refreshing to get back to just very simple shoes with simple uppers, really good performance foams, and simple outsoles. No plates, no carrier foams, no sandwiches of foams, just a good foam, a simple upper, and a fairly lightweight, flexible shoe. That's something I really love to see, and I love to see that the industry is really embracing that sort of as one of the next trends in training shoes especially. And as I said in the intro, the New Balance Rebel V5 and the Adidas Evo SL are probably two of the best ones in 2025, but you're going to definitely prefer one of these over the other, and in this video, I'm going to help you choose. As always with my versus videos, let's start with the specs. On paper, these two shoes are actually extremely similar. Stack height, drop, weight, they're all very similar, but there are two key differences to these shoes that you're going to really notice. The first one is in the geometry, and I'll talk more about this in the midsole section of this video, but the Adidas Evo SL has a much more aggressive geometry. The second is the foam. Now, fuel cell foam from New Balance has never been one of my favorite foams. I've always found it too spongy, too soft, too mushy, not really any resilience to it. And in the Rebel V5, New Balance has made a tweak to the formula of the PIBA EVA blend to put a little bit more PIBA in there. We think around 35% PIBA, the rest is EVA. That there's now just a hint of resilience to the fuel cell foam. It's still soft. I wouldn't call it mushy or spongy, but it just has a hint of resilience. Whereas Lightstrike Pro, what I call Lightstrike Pro Classic in the Evo SL, the older Lightstrike Pro that we saw in the Adios Pro 3 from 2023 onward, is extremely responsive. It is very dynamic. It is almost like a spring. You strike on the ground and you have instant resilience. It was ultra high resilience. It was Adidas's race foam for many years. And you really feel that difference underfoot, making the ride profiles of these two shoes. Whereas the Rebel V5 is what I call soft. There's a lot of sink, but not a ton of resilience. And that's fine for what this shoe actually is really good at. And in the Evo SL, you have a very springy ride. There isn't a lot of sink in that shoe, and you have almost an instantaneous energy return and spring out of that shoe. Very, very different rides between these two shoes from both geometry and foam. Moving to the contact patch and outsole of these two shoes, I was actually very surprised here with the Rebel V5. It is actually narrower in the forefoot than the Evo SL. Now, one of the things I did not like about the Rebel V4 last year was that it was just too wide. It was a spongy foam and just overly too wide. New Balance has toned in the Rebel V5 by 5 to 8 centimeters across most of the sizes, so it is a more narrow shoe, and you do notice that underfoot. I'm not going to say it feels as nimble as the first generation or the second generation of the Rebel way back when, but it definitely feels considerably better than the Rebel V4 did. And the Evo SL is, again, like I said, it's a very aggressive and dynamic shoe, but it is somewhat stable with the contact patch. There is a lot of instability in the Evo SL, and that's coming from the foam, and I'll talk about that in the ride section of the video, but the contact patch is actually really good. Now, the biggest difference in the way these two shoes are going to feel underfoot is in that waist. Look how wide the Rebel V5 is. It's considerably wider than the Evo SL. In fact, the Evo SL has a slight sort of midfoot medial side cutout. It's not drastic, but it's there, and it's a very narrow waist of the shoe, whereas in the Rebel V5, it is very straight back to the heel. The heel is even wider, so you're actually getting a lot of stability. So midfoot strikers and heel strikers are going to do really well with the Rebel V5, and overall, if you want a more stable platform underfoot, the Rebel V5 is going to be the better option. I'm going to say neither one of these shoes are the most stable shoe on the market, but if you want a soft and more stable option underfoot, that is the Rebel V5. And lastly, looking at the outsole of these two shoes, one of the biggest changes that made the most difference to the New Balance Rebel V5 is this big piece of forefoot rubber in that shoe, which goes back to really the Rebel V1 through 3 had the same configuration of just one big piece of rubber under the forefoot. The Rebel V4 went a totally different direction, and that made it an even worse ride. But now with the Rebel V5, they're back to this single piece of rubber in the forefoot, and it is wonderful. It's wonderful to land on. It's very grippy, gives you a platform to really toe off of or land on if you're a forefoot striker. It is wonderful. And the outsole in the Evo SL, I'm going to say the same thing. It is a wonderful classic Adi Zero outsole. Full continental rubber, which is that gray section of rubber in the forefoot with two pieces of rubber in the heel. Really wonderful outsole. Both these shoes, I think, are coming at it from a similar direction. They do have different feels, but again, that's more the foam and the geometry. But the outsoles in these two shoes are both outstanding. Moving to the uppers of these two shoes, they are both kind of similar. They're both very simple engineered mesh with minimal overlays. They both have a toe bumper. They have some overlays around the eyelet chain to give the eyelet a little bit more support. They both have a padded ankle collar and a padded Achilles flare, though I'm going to say that there's a little bit more padding in the heel of the New Balance Rebel V5, and the Achilles flare in this shoe is just a little bit taller, making a little bit deeper of a pocket back here for the heel. And I know one of the changes in the Rebel V5 from the Rebel V4 is that the heel in this shoe is just much more natural fitting, especially for a narrower heel, where in the Rebel V4 is a little bit more squared and blocky. I think this has a wonderful fit in the heel. In the Evo SL, we actually have also a very good heel. I know Adi Zero shoes have given people a lot of issues with Achilles problems for years, but I think this configuration where there's enough padding around the ankle collar, the Achilles flare is padded enough, there is a pocket back there to cradle the heel, I think it works really well. This is one of Adidas's best training uppers and heels in some time from a material standpoint. Where there is a difference is in the fit of these two shoes. Now, I need to start with the Evo SL. Now, I've made a ton of videos about this problem, but this is one of the worst fitted shoes I've run in many, many years. This is a very aggressive performance trainer, meaning this is a shoe that wants you to run fast. The upper on this shoe is what I would call a training fit upper, or maybe even a casual fit upper, and it just does not work. Now, I have had the Evo 1, which is where this shoe's coming from a design standpoint. I've had the Evo 1 on my foot, and I've now run in the Evo 1, video on that coming soon. And I'm going to say that this shoe fits nothing like the Evo 1. And you would expect that. This is a trainer, so you wouldn't expect a super aggressive fit like the Evo 1 has. But also, the shape of this shoe is very different. The way the toe box tapers in this shoe is very different than what the Evo 1 was actually doing. The Evo 1 fits really, really nicely. It's a very good race fit. This doesn't have any of the same qualities. I said it does have a good heel back here. It does hold your heel down, but the fundamental problem with this upper is it's just too baggy, especially right here at the base of the eyelet chain into the forefoot. So you can't really get a decent lockdown in this shoe. Now, I have neither a wide nor narrow foot, but it is a very high volume foot. I have a high arch. And I still cannot get a good performance fit in this shoe. I can't even get a comfortable training fit in this shoe. Because again, I can't really get the laces locked down because there's so much bagginess here at the base of the eyelet chain, which is a lot of where the mechanical lockdown of the eyelet chain is coming from. And then you get into the forefoot of this shoe, because of this more aggressive toe box taper, especially on the medial side, it's actually pinching my toes in a little bit. So what that's creating is, since I get a very sloppy fit here, it allows my foot to kind of wiggle around in there, which then creates hot spots and blister opportunities because my toes are sort of banging into the sides of the shoe, not the front of the shoe, the sides of the shoe. And it's just overall a very unfortunate and very uncomfortable fit from the start in this shoe. And it really is a limiter for me personally in this shoe. And I've read in the comments on this channel, it's also a lot of other people are struggling with the fit of this shoe. But moving over to the New Balance Rebel V5, the upper fit on this shoe is considerably different. This is one of the most pleasant fitting shoes I've run in many years. Now that's really saying something because I really did not like the fit of the Rebel V4, which is one of many reasons why I never covered it on this channel, because it just was too sloppy. The upper textile just never wrapped around the foot. It was a little too plasticky. Their whole phantom fit thing didn't really work well for my foot. And the Rebel V4 was just so wide. As I've already pointed out, this shoe is just a little bit more narrow. It's a little bit more natural as far as fitting your foot. The upper textile on this shoe isn't much different than the upper textile that was on the Rebel V4, but it's different enough that it now is conforming to the foot, so it actually wraps around your foot, holds your foot. I would call the fit of this shoe generous. It's more of a training fit, not really a performance fit, definitely not a race fit, but the lockdown is actually really good. There's not too much volume here. There is a lot of width here, there is a lot of volume here, so you're getting a very comfortable fit. If you have a wider foot or you like the Rebel V4 because of the wider fit of that shoe, you're going to like this too. It's just expected to be just a little bit tighter. It just fits a little bit better. And then the toe box taper in this shoe, especially on the medial side, is much straighter. So I do get toe splay in this shoe, but also this allows my big toe to remain straight, which allows me to dig and kick off my toe, which is what I want as a runner. And I'm not getting any hot spots or pressure, especially on the medial side, because there's too much taper. It's a very sort of straight torpedo-like last in this shoe, and it works really well. Overall, as I said, this is one of the best fitting trainers. I would classify this a little bit more on the daily trainer side that I've had on my foot in many years, and it is a huge surprise. Talking about sizing of these two shoes, both of these shoes are US men's size 9, which is true to size for me. In the Adidas Evo SL, I'm going to say this is probably the size to start with. In my review for this shoe, I talked about how I did buy a second pair of these, which was half a size down. It was a US 8.5 men's, and that gave me a slightly better fit to this shoe, but it didn't give me enough length. So if I was running more than 5 or 6K in this shoe, it was not really enough length, and my toes would definitely let me know. So I think true to size is where you start. If there's not enough length, you go up half a size, but by going up, you're going to get an even sloppier fitting upper. In this shoe, true to size all the way, I would say this is, again, a very good fit. There's total enough width and length in this shoe. I can't see an instance where you'd want to go up or down half a size in the shoe. My recommendation is true to size in the Rebel V5. Let me dive into the midsoles of these two shoes, and I'm going to start with the Evo SL because, as I talked about, the foam in this shoe, Lightstrike Pro, what I call Lightstrike Pro Classic, is the older, more firm or denser Lightstrike Pro, not what you find in the Adios Pro 4, but what you find in the Adios Pro 3, and it's just a much more energetic, dynamic foam. Additionally, the geometry, the rocker point in the forefoot of the shoe is about here. So it's actually a bit behind the ball of your foot, which makes this very aggressive off the toe. This is a shoe that you always feel like you're falling forward in. This shoe wants you to be up on your toes, toeing off, and just rolling forward all of the time. That's what I mean by an aggressive ride in this shoe. So you combine that aggressive geometry with this very dynamic foam, and this is a shoe that has one gear and one gear only. This shoe wants to go fast, and it's happiest when it's going fast, which is where I think this is a optimal performance trainer or tempo trainer. However, since the fit of the upper is not there, that's where this shoe falls down for me because it just doesn't work. I cannot get the right lockdown. I cannot get the right fit where this truly is that. But from a geometry and foam standpoint, this is the more aggressive shoe between these two shoes. However, if we go to the New Balance Rebel V5, the fuel cell foam in this shoe is much softer and much less resilient. Now, as I said in the specs of this video, I've always found fuel cell foam to be a little bit too spongy, a little bit too mushy. In the Rebel V5, this is still a very soft foam, but because they changed the PIBA EVA blend in this shoe and they added a little bit more stack height to the shoe, there is more resilience in this shoe than what was in the Rebel V4. But that lower resilience in this foam, I think actually makes this a better all-around trainer because there is a little bit more resilience in this version of Fuel Cell with the added stack. It makes it a very pleasant daily trainer type ride with an extra gear. This is a shoe that will go easy, it will cruise, you can shuffle and jog around in this shoe, but if you need to pick it up and do some tempo work or do some faster work, this shoe will definitely let you do that, and it'll do it really well. Additionally, this is a shoe that's actually quite pleasant to pick up the pace in and then slow back down. A lot of performance shoes, mainly this shoe, the Adidas Evo SL, when you pick it up and you finally give in to running really fast in this shoe, but then you try to slow down like you're doing a rest session between reps or something, it's kind of awkward because your feet and your legs are just used to running how this shoe naturally wants to run. It just feels kind of weird when you slow back down. In the Rebel V5, it feels fine. It actually, this shoe's happy to go from jog to tempo, back down to jog, nice and happy to do that, which I think makes this a very, very versatile trainer overall. Another way of seeing this is with my performance matrix. So if we take the Rebel V5 and the Evo SL and we put them both on here, this is what we get. I think the Rebel V5 is only the second or third shoe that sort of ticks all of the boxes in this matrix. As you can see, it's a shoe that can go from easy to max effort and really cover all of these bases, but as always, the orange or red area is really the sweet spot. The Rebel V5 is happiest going easy into steady. I would say a little bit closer to easy. It just wants to do that. It's a very comfortable shoe to do that, where the Evo SL is a shoe that's definitely wants to go fast. It's happier steady into threshold. You can pick it up into max effort and it will do that really well, especially if you like a more dynamic foam with a more aggressive geometry. But overall, the Evo SL is the more faster shoe that's always go, 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 where the Rebel V5 is a shoe that allows you to control it quite a bit more, and you can really use it for a range of running from easy all the way into max effort. So how do you choose which one of these is right for you if everything I just said doesn't really completely nail it for you? Well, I'm going to go through a couple checks that maybe will help you decide. The first one is, what kind of shoe do you want? Do you want a shoe that's more of a true dedicated tempo trainer or performance trainer? A shoe that's going to sit between your daily trainer and your race shoe that's going to be mostly for faster running? That's the Adidas Evo SL. This is probably the best tempo trainer that you can buy for most runners, especially if the fit is there for you. This is a very aggressive shoe that's very dynamic and it's very fast, and you can do all of that tempo running in this shoe and do it quite well. The only thing I'm going to say this shoe doesn't really work well for is track workouts, because this shoe is so unstable and just such a high platform. This shoe is kind of a nightmare on the turns, on the track, so I would not recommend this for dedicated track workouts. But if you're doing road workouts, especially longer workouts, this is the more performance-oriented shoe between these two shoes. But as I've already pointed out, the Rebel V5 can do that. This is in it all of these same performances here that's in the Evo SL. This is just a shoe that allows you to do more easy running and pick it up if you want it, where the Evo SL is a shoe that's just go, 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 go fast all the time. And if you want to do anything else in this shoe, not so much. The next point, and these points all sort of build on each other, so keep that in mind, is how much flex or how much road feel do you actually like in the shoe? Do you like a shoe that really isolates you from the ground and you don't really feel the ground? Well, that's the Evo SL. There is a little ground feel in this shoe. Again, this is just one piece of Lightstrike Pro foam. There's no plates, there's no rods, there's nothing in the shoe. There is a midfoot shank in the shoe, but it's not a stiffening agent. It's just there to control the twist of the shoe. But still, this is a high platform with a fairly dense dynamic foam. There isn't a ton of ground feel in this shoe. There's more ground feel in this shoe than, say, a plated Super Trainer from the past couple of years, but still, there isn't a lot in this shoe. So if you don't ever really want to feel the ground, Evo SL. But if you like a lot of ground feel, you like a lot of flex, the Rebel V5 is the way to go. This is a wonderful shoe for feeling the ground, for feeling the energy transfer when you're striking and rolling forward. It's a very soft foam. It's a very flexible foam. This shoe allows you to dedicate and dictate how you want to run, and it will also allow you to feel the ground quite well. Though it's still protecting you. This isn't as minimal as a flat. It is a trainer. It is a 30 mil plus stack height in the forefoot, but there's a lot of flex in this shoe. You're going to feel the ground in this shoe, and if that's what you're looking for, Rebel V5 all the way. The third check is, how much do you weigh? Are you a lighter runner or a heavier runner? Now, most performance running shoes are designed for runners between 60 to about 80 kilos, which is about 130 pounds to about 175 pounds. Usually on the lower end of that. The more performance-oriented the shoe, especially when you're getting into race shoes or super shoes, you're going to be on the lower side of that. So if you're a runner that's in that range and you like a little bit more ground feel, that's the Rebel V5. This is a wonderful shoe, again, to feel the ground, to feel the flex under your foot, to build foot strength, and really dictate how you want to run in this shoe. However, if you're a heavier runner, above 80 kilos, pushing 90, even 100 kilos, I would say this is not the shoe for you because it is a soft shoe. You are going to pancake out this shoe really quickly. You can probably still run in it, and it's probably still going to be a fun shoe to run in, but you're only going to get maybe 5 or 6K out of it before the shoe starts to feel really flat. And as far as wear in the shoe, you're not going to get a lot of wear out of the shoe. So I'm going to say for a heavier runner, you're probably going to like the Evo SL quite a bit more because Lightstrike Pro Classic is just a firmer, denser foam that is going to hold up to all the force and the weight that you're actually putting through the shoe into the ground. And lastly, how much stability do you need in a shoe? Now, I'm going to say neither one of these shoes are very stable. There's definitely more stable shoes out there. However, the Adidas Evo SL is very, very unstable. And that's a combination of the Lightstrike Pro Classic foam, how dynamic and springy that foam is, but also the aggressive geometry of this shoe. This is a shoe that kind of feels like it's going to go everywhere all at once. So this shoe demands a lot of ankle strength and lower leg strength, whereas the Rebel V5 is a much softer shoe. However, it's a much wider shoe, especially in the midfoot, as I pointed out in the specs. So this shoe is much more stable. It's softer, but it's more stable underfoot. Additionally, this shoe's still going to train ankle and lower leg strength, but it's also going to train foot strength because there is so much flex in this shoe. You do get a little bit of foot strength building in the Evo SL, definitely more than you would in a plated super trainer, but still, compared to the Rebel V5, this is the much better option if you're really focused on building foot strength and lower leg strength. You're going to get it all in this one, where this one's just going to train the lower leg and ankle strength because of the instability overall of this platform. As I said in the upfront, I actually find both of these shoes extremely exciting. I wish the Evo SL fit my foot better because I would spend a lot more time in the shoe, and I would probably be as positive on this shoe as most other people in this space are. But as it is, it just does not fit. And a lot of the other problems with this shoe around the marketing and just some of the stuff that's kind of lifestyle-wise filtered into this shoe, which I think have made the fit the way it is, just make this shoe an extremely frustrating shoe, which is where if I had to pick between these two shoes, I am definitely picking the New Balance Rebel V5 because this is more what I want out of this shoe. Flexible, soft, enough with good leg savingness for daily training, but I can pick it up for tempo running if I need it, and I can do max effort running in this shoe as well. I could just as much go out and do an easy run in this shoe as I could take it out and do a track workout. It's not going to be the shoe I'm going to pick always for a track workout, but if I had to get that done in this shoe, I totally could. I also find the fit of this shoe just really, really pleasant, really comfortable. That ability to really let my big toe be straight and really dig and kick off the toe in the shoe is something I really, really desire. So I am surprised how much I like the Rebel V5. I'm also surprised how big this update has been from the Rebel V4. There's nothing that's night and day different in this shoe. It's just a lot of little iterative changes in this shoe that have overall made a much better Rebel in the Rebel series and really brought this shoe, I think, to a true daily trainer category that allows some performance running, and it's wonderful. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support what I do here, go check out sagasurunning.com for merch or click the join button to become a member of this channel. If neither one of those options are good for you, leave a comment, leave a like. That helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.